Hi, let's talk about the Module 3 overview for a moment. In Module 3, we're going to talk about the many activities that that make up the planning of the project. This is perhaps, from a project manager's point of view, the most important part of the entire project, because what you leave on the table as far as adequate planning will cause you problems later down the line. In fact, there are certain things that if you don't do right, it will lead to ultimate project failure. This information can be found in the Guido and Clements reading of Chapter 4. In Chapter 4, it focuses on those steps of planning. We talk about scope. We talk about quality, we talk about a work breakdown structure, and we talk about the network diagram. What does this mean? In project planning, planning is based on the project objective. And the project objective is where you identify the high-level benefits to the organization, when you think the project is going to start, when you think the project is going to finish, what kind of return on investment, which we probably have a pretty good idea since we went through that with the selection process. And then we determine what some of the main features and some of the main benefits. We identify the project sponsor. It's there where the project manager is identified and authorized to do the project. And that's pretty much what the project objective is going to be about. The project objective is also input, and we're talking processes here again, into the development of the project scope. The project scope is really where the rubber meets the road. It provides the project team the goals and objectives of exactly what they're going to deliver. It provides the user with acceptance criteria, and it provides everybody, the stakeholders, the roadmap to the end of the project. It should be very clear. It should be very concise. It should be very exact, because one of the key contributing factors to project failure is what we call scope creep. And usually scope creep comes from the reasons that the scope document was not clearly identified, or you added features and functionality along the way that you shouldn't have. The scope document is controlled with a baseline and then a change management process that it forces the organization to take a look at new features and new functionality as the project goes on, has them reanalyzed to determine if there's an impact to budget and effort, which is the schedule, and then either approves it, in which time we rebaseline key documents as well as the schedule, or we reject it and move forward with the original baseline in mind. We're going to determine and defend 3 elements of the project scope document. There's several key elements that are identified in the chapter. We're going to talk about quality management. The quality management refers to a host of things. First of all, let's get it out on the table that the definition of quality is to meet or exceed the customer expectations. In this case, whether the customer is an external customer or the customer is an internal customer, the sponsors typically who we're talking about, we want to meet or exceed their expectations with regard to what the project's going to look like, or the product's going to look like as a result of the project, the benefits to the organization, and the functions and features of that product. We want to make sure that we get it right. Now, in some cases, in an information technology project, we pretty much know what we're doing, unless it's regulatory in nature, in which case there are specifications that we need to keep an eye on. Then there's tools and techniques of testing and audits of the project process itself, and the testing of the features and functionalities as we develop them to make sure that they exist or to relate to the original requirements. So there's two pieces to quality management specifically. There's the quality assurance, and then there's quality control. The quality control monitors the product as we're developing it to make sure that it meets those ultimate requirements. We're also going to speak a little bit to a work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure, also known as WBS, will look like an organization chart to many of us. And the idea is to start with a box at the top. We call that level 0. And it pretty much gives us, this is conceptually what our product is going to be, or the project is going to be like. At that point, we talk about the next level, which are the major pieces of features or functionality that comprises that level 0. And we keep decomposing that until we come to a point where we can actually start estimating our effort and assigning people. That brings us to the responsibility assignment matrix. That is a direct output from the work breakdown structure. The network diagram is yet another tool that is used, and that'll provide the project manager and the project team an understanding of those work packets that have been decomposed to in the work breakdown structure. It will give us an idea of the predecessor-successor relationships of the tasks. We don't do all tasks at the same time. That would almost be like having a child, 9 women being pregnant for 1 month or something like that. We want to make sure that we do each one of these steps at the exact time that they're supposed to be done, and each task has a predecessor, typically a predecessor activity dependency, and a successor dependency. So we'll talk more about that in the network diagram. This chapter also mentions an SDLC. That's a systems development lifecycle, and that sort of runs in parallel to the project lifecycle. The project lifecycle is the project. The systems development lifecycle is those steps needed to produce a quality software product. We also will talk about project management information systems, and that's where the project manager depends very heavily on monitoring and controlling the project and understanding the schedule, determining whether it's on time or not. In our case, for this semester, we're going to take a look at Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is a PMIS. It is probably one of the most popular. It's a fairly complex and sophisticated piece of software. The school is providing us each with temporary licenses to access Microsoft Project. We will do a 3-part project, group project. It'll be in modules 3, module 4, module 5, and we will also be using Microsoft Project as a key component to our final grade, our final exam. So we need to learn as much about this as possible. That's the topics for Module 3. In Module 3, the assessments are going to be the quiz. Once again, it's going to contribute 25 points toward your final grade, and there's going to be a short answer, a couple true, false, and mostly multiple choice. And then, of course, the group project that I mentioned before. The group project for this module is going to be worth 75 points toward your grade. The group project as a whole is worth 300 points, or 30% of your final grade. So it's very important that we all cooperate and do the best job as a team that we can do. Well, that's it for Module 3 right now. We'll talk more about Module 4 in my next video. Thanks.